Texas to meet the baseball star, who was playing against the Houston Astros.
I think what he really wanted to know initially from that first meeting was I his dad? Was I going to be there for him as his dad? So that didn't happen.
Tug told him that circumstances happen, and your mother and I chose this way, and she chose to keep you, and she's done a good job, and you just got to hold your head up, knock that chip off your shoulder, and just face life yourself. Don't look back.
Tim took Tug McGraw's advice. He rarely spoke about him after their visit and instead focused on the future. He figured he could never be as good a ball player as his father, so he quit baseball and instead excelled in basketball and football when he entered high school. He also pursued his love of music.
He always sang, always. He'd walk around the house singing all the time. And we'd always say, "Shut up, dude, God, enough is enough." But he sang in the shower, he sang while he was walking around the house. He'd come out in his underwear in the morning singing.
When he first started off, he was so bashful, you'd have to beg him to get up and sing before he started singing with the band. And he'd get up there and sing, and he was fine. Then you couldn't get him down. He'd sing 3 or 4 songs, but always so bashful.
Tim wasn't shy when it came to asking others to do his chores. He concocted crafty ways to contract out his work to family and friends.
His mother used to pay him to do the work around the house, to put the trash out and dig ditches or something. And he'd take it and pay his sisters part of it, and he'd keep the rest and have them do the work. And he'd sit back and supervise it.
When he was 14, throw his cap down, he says, "I'm not doing manual labor all my life. I'm going to have me an office. I'm going to be a millionaire before I'm 30. And he was constantly telling me that.
In the spring of 1985, Tim graduated salutatorian of his class at Monroe High School. The teen received a music scholarship at Northeast Louisiana University, although at the time he wanted to become a lawyer. He knew that the scholarship would not cover all his college tuition, so his mother decided it was time for his famous biological father to step up to the plate.
Ground ball, Manny.
Tug McGraw, who had never paid child support, finally agreed to accept responsibility and fund Tim's college education. However, Tim had one additional stipulation. He wanted to meet Tug one more time.
I just wanted to see him one time. You know, I was 18, thought I was a man, and I wanted to see him for, I guess, the last time, and he knowing the truth and looking me in the eye knowing he knew the truth.
Probably one of the great meetings of my life, if not the greatest. He looked at me and he said, "Hey, I just want to know if I could call you Dad." He said he just wanted to know that he could call me Dad. So that was cool. That was awesome. And of course I said, "You got it, you know."
I said, "Yeah, I'm your father." I mean, when you hear that, I mean, there's I guess it brings everything to a conclusion. I mean, more than anything, you don't have to think that you have to prove to somebody that you know, you're their son or you're not their son, or all that's over with.
Tim won over the father who had rejected him for almost 18 years. The long-awaited acknowledgement by his father helped build Tim's confidence and character. He now was ready to embark on a new chapter in his life. In 1985, Tim began his freshman year at Northeast Louisiana University, and during enrollment, he decided to change his last name from Smith, the surname of his stepdad, to McGraw.
I think it was the right thing for me and the right thing for my life. was to have my name the way it's supposed to be the way it was on the birth certificate.
Tim signed up for pre-law classes. He also joined a fraternity and sometimes overindulged in the social aspects of college life.
It was fraternity and bars and maybe one class a day. Guitars and bars.
Tim grew less interested in academics and more attentive towards his music. During his sophomore year, he played guitar and sang rock and country tunes at local clubs. The experience made him realize his true calling. Tim dropped out of college after 3 years in 1989 to pursue his dream. He wanted to go to Nashville and get a record contract. Tim packed his bags and moved to the country music capital in 1989. He lived off the remainder of his college trust fund provided by Tug while he scrambled to secure music gigs at local bars.
When I first met Tim, he was kind of on the road. It was just a bunch of guys in a van. and about 20 guys living in one apartment, you know, because when you first start off in the music business, there's no income. I think the way that Tim and I became instant friends is we were kind of going through the same things at the same time. We're around the same age, wanted the same dreams, you know, we had the same aspirations, and we came to Nashville for the same reasons, and we just had a lot in common.
Tim made a demo tape, but he needed connections in Nashville. Tug McGraw's celebrity status and contacts eventually got Tim a fortunate meeting with Curb Records Vice President Mike Borchetta.
He looked at me and he says, "Can you listen to it now?" And I'm thinking, okay, that's all I got to do is listen to half the song, turn to him and say, "Gee, you know, we don't need anybody, and, you know, have a nice day." So I took the tape, put it on my tape machine, and played it, and halfway through the song, I turned to him, I says, "You're a star, you've got a contract." He said, "What?" I said, "You're a star." I said, "You got a contract." And he thought I was kidding.
Borchetta took a gamble by signing on the Green Performer. It was the early 90s. Garth Brooks, Alan Jackson, and Clint Black had already saturated the country music market. But Tim had what it took to carve a place for himself in Nashville.
It's something we call it. You know, if someone has it or they don't have it. And there was something in that sound that just intrigued me. I said, he's got that it.
Country music was poised for a youth explosion in the early 90s. It was just going to be whoever it was going to be. And once Garth kind of opened that door to those kinds of artists, Tim McGraw is a signal example of the kind of new male artist that would show up in the wake of Garth Brooks opening the door.
Tim released his first album, Tim McGraw, in 1993, but it didn't sell as well as he had expected.
There was a real break-in era there for Tim with radio. It was his first time in the studio, so he was learning how to work with a microphone and how to maximize what he was as a singer.
Tim was not the only one frustrated. Curb record executives felt they made a mistake by signing on the singer.
Borchetta, you've just blown $20,000 worth of Curb's money with this McGraw kid. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I said, I'm in trouble. We've had enough McGraw. I said, no, you can't give up on McGraw. I said, the kid's a hit. I mean, I was at war now with my people.
Tim kept looking for a song that would keep his career afloat. He read the lyrics to a tune called Indian Outlaw. Tim had a hunch that the song would take off, and he was right. Fans were instantly drawn to its catchy beat when he played the song in clubs. Tim wanted to release it as a single on his next album, but his producers were opposed